Okay, this is our daily study of Pirkei Avot, the Mishnah Ethics of the Fathers, for those who have yard site for tonight, the 8th of Av, Isidore Boxer, Mini Boxer, Albert Levin, and Anna Paslov. May their memory be for a blessing. A link to the text of the Mishnah will be in the first comment below. We are up to chapter 5, Mishnah 15, and this is the last of the patterns of 4 that the Mishnah has been going through. Arba midos b'yoshvei lifnei chachamim. There are 4 types of people who sit before the sages. So the Kahati and the Bartanura commentaries point out that a few Mishnahs ago in Mishnah 12, we had 4 types of students listed. This is 4 types of people who sit in front of the sages. So what exactly is the difference? Well, this Bartanura says this seems to be speaking to elite students. People who sit in front of the sages could be seen as like a PhD student, someone who's going to become like a rabbinic scholar. So back in Mishnah 12, that just related to comprehension and memory. How strong is their mind? But this one's going to be even more sophisticated than that. This one's going to relate to their judgment, which is important if you want to become a scholar. It's not just about your recall capacity, right? But you have to have, there's so much information coming in when you're getting a PhD, that's my modern day analog, or when you're going to become a real scholar, that it's not just about how much you can retain and remember, but you have to sift through that knowledge and decide sort of what's important. So we'll see how that plays out. Svog, umashbech, mashmeres, v'nafa. And that's why they're all metaphors that are different kind of instruments are listed. So there's the sponge, the funnel, the strainer, and the sieve. Okay, so how does that work out? Svog shehu sofeg es hakol, mashbech shemachnis bazo, motzi bazo, mashmeres shemotzias hayayin v'koletes es hashmarim, v'nafa shemotzias hakemach v'koletes es hasoles. Okay, the sponge soaks up everything. So that sounds like it's a good thing, but it's actually not. The Kahati says it's a bit of a critique because this is speaking to someone who the modern day analogy I would give is like Rain Man. He's like an idiot savant. He remembers every single detail that the teacher is telling him, even the irrelevant things. So I would compare that. So that's not actually what you want in scholarship, because the person's going to drone on for hours about irrelevant details, and he won't actually be a good teacher of Torah. This is kind of like idiot savant. Rain Man is the only thing I could think of. He remembers every single little detail the teacher has said. So that's actually not what you want. The funnel, which absorbs at one end and lets out at the other. So that's really the worst. It's a funnel. You're sitting and soaking up everything the teacher says, and that speaks to a certain amount of enthusiasm. You're soaking up in one end, and then it goes out the other end, so you don't retain it for very long. That's kind of similar to something we had in previous missions of someone who doesn't retain things. Okay, but here it's subtly different. It's used with a metaphor, and it's about judgment in retaining things. The strainer, which lets out the wine and retains the dregs. So this is the worst. And interestingly enough, in all these missions until now, the third out of the 4 types has always been the Goldilocks, the sweet spot. In this case, the third is the worst one, and the fourth will be the best one. Save the best for last, interestingly enough. Not sure why, but okay, the third one is the worst. It lets out the wine and retains the dregs. Well, that's not what you want. Meaning this is the worst kind of person who the important information he forgets, but he remembers all the stupid details. So the teacher says, by the way, tomorrow is my wife's birthday, so I won't be here. He always remembers, his wife's birthday is tomorrow, but he forgot the information, to give like a funny example. Another funny example I thought of is someone who's trying to be a scholar of World War II, let's say, and he memorizes exactly all the uniforms that all the different armies wore and the different colors and what was on the uniforms and the medals, which could be interesting in and of itself, perhaps in the history of fashion, but he doesn't really know the dates and the battles and what happened, so he's kind of retaining the wrong things. Might be interesting on Jeopardy or a game show like that, however. Okay, and finally, the last, which is the best, the sieve, which lets the coarse flour pass out and retains the choice flour. That's what you want, someone who's able to filter the information. The rabbi's giving, the chacham, the sage, is giving you all this information, and the true scholar is someone who retains, who's able to systemize and organize it in his head, and retains all the good stuff, and lets when the teacher says tomorrow's his wife's birthday, he lets that pass through, or the irrelevant details. It's actually a quality, a good thing to not retain everything, because then it shows you have the judgment to retain that which is the most important and to systematize it. Okay, so important lesson. With that, we'll say the Malay. El malei rachamim shochein bamiromim hamitzei menucha nechon al kanfei hashechina b'malos kedoshim b'tahorim kazor harakia masirim es nishmos kalaskaros shel halayla shel chuli olamam ba'avur shem yispalim bad haskaras nishmasam began eden tehei menuchasam lachein bal harachamim yastireim b'seiser kenafav liolamim v'yitzror b'tzor achayim es nishmasam Adonai unachlasam v'yanuchu b'shalom mishkvasam v'nomar amen. And in English, O God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant proper rest on the wings of the divine presence in the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine like the glow of the firmament, for the souls of Isidore Boxer, Minnie Boxer, Albert Levin, and Anna Paslov, in whose memory we study and pray. May their resting place be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the Master of Mercy shelter them in the shelter of his wings for eternity. May he bind their soul in the bond of life. Hashem is their heritage. May they rest in peace. Let us say Amen.